My name is Jeff Doctor, the Executive Director of the National Indian Cannabis Coalition. I know it's probably been a long day for everyone, so I'll try not to bore you too much about what's going on in Indian country and different things that are happening on reservations and native territories here in the United States concerning cannabis. Just a brief background. I'm originally from the Seneca Nation outside of Buffalo, New York. Grew up in New York State, moved to North Carolina in 1997. Small business owner, did a lot of different things in Charlotte, North Carolina. 2010, ran for United States Congress in Charlotte, North Carolina. Got involved politically, stayed involved politically, working with Native American tribes across the country, and got into the cannabis industry, going after state licenses about 2013. So I've been involved in the industry in 4 different states, going after licenses with a different company. And then when the Cole memo came out at the end of 2014, we kind of came up with this idea of how can we help tribes throughout the country navigate this landscape for cannabis and or industrial hemp. So we created the National Indian Cannabis Coalition. We're based in Washington, D.C. We're a advocacy, policy, and legislative agency or organization that works on Capitol Hill on behalf of tribes around the country. We also go around the country, educating tribes on what's happening in the cannabis industry, trying to keep tribes up to date. We go in and we talk to tribes about the different kind of information that is out there. We're not there to sway tribes one way or the other. It's our job to keep tribes best informed, best practices, to meet folks like yourselves in the industry, to be able to connect those dots for tribes that want to be able to be involved in the industry. So we try to be all-inclusive, and we try and just give our tribal councils, our tribal leaders, and our tribal communities the best information possible that's out there in the cannabis space. No go? There it is. So I just want to give you a quick overview where we're at, and this kind of dictates where tribes are located throughout the United States and where cannabis or industrial hemp is in and around tribal territories. So as you can see in the light green, you have states with legalized recreational and medical marijuana on tribal land. As you can see, most of it's on the West Coast at the moment, especially with the new states that have just passed. In the dark green, you have states with legalized medical marijuana and tribal land. And obviously the purple is states with legalized medicinal, but no tribal land. So this just kind of gives the map of where the country's at right now, and where the potential opportunities are for folks like yourselves that are in the industry looking to do potential opportunities with tribal entities. So I don't know how many of you know about the Cole memo that came out, as I mentioned a few moments ago, at the end of 2014. What that memo stated from the Department of Justice, it gave 8 bullet points that said tribes could get into the cannabis and industrial hemp space, and they had to follow 8 bullet points. I mean, they were kind of common sense bullet points, but it was a lot was left open for interpretation. There's, one of the big key things, you have to be able to have consultation with your U.S. District Attorney within that state. You want to be able to have good relations with them, working within your state. We only recommend that folks in the industry and also with tribes, that they go out and they only do this in where it states that it's legal. That's kind of why we put the map up there, just to show that, hey, this is where you can have the opportunity to do the business in those states. And it gives, distribution to minors, different, crossing state lines. It was very, very, very vague when those 8 bullet points came out. But we're still working on that. Through that, we have a couple operations that have opened in Washington State. They have made compacts with the state of Washington to work with them through the alcohol board that now runs the marijuana program, or cannabis program in Washington State. And the reason I bring some of this up, and now that we've had a political change or political landscape change here, and how this affects tribes potentially, this could be rescinded. The memo that came out in 2014 could be completely taken away. So it's, like I said, we want to be able to give proper information with the new administration. We don't know where this is going to go as of yet, but the Department of Justice could take those 8 bullet points and say, you know what, Native tribes, no more, it's done. We're hoping that's not going to be the case, now that we've had more legalization in the states this past November, and hopefully we'll just continue to keep fighting, continue to keep growing as everyone else in this industry has helped to move everything forward as well. I'm sure you know the states that passed last week. This just kind of gives a little more insight into what tribes are located in those states and what the potential possibilities are. Sorry about the 100, oops, nope. Yeah, so now you have 129 tribes located in those states, and with the ones that were added last week, and 6 more in the medical side. And when I talk about state compacts, it can potentially be a roadmap for other states. Now, what does it mean to do business with a Native tribe or Native entity as a non-Native entity? We have a lot of different advantages. We are considered sovereign nations. We are not states' rights. So what I mean by that, if you're potentially wanting to go into business, our town hall is Washington, D.C. All our federal funding comes from D.C. for a lot of the things that we do on our territories and on our reservations. So the reason we go on the compact side, it's kind of very similar to gaming. If anybody understands or knows anything about native gaming, this is very similar in the style that cannabis and possibly industrial hemp will go within this industry for native tribes. And what that does is just sets up protection for folks like yourself in the industry and the tribes themselves as well. It allows also for, nope, need to go back. But it also allows for advantages. We have, as sovereign nations, we have different tax status. We have potential labor can be somewhat savings. You have vast amounts of land that have opportunities to, whether big grows, small grows, scalable, depending on the demographics of those reservations. And there are 567 federally recognized tribes in the United States, from West Coast to East Coast. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. When you're potentially trying to do an operation with a tribal or native organization, tribes can also make their own rules. We're living on our sovereign land. We can set up our own regulatory systems. Now, we recommend to tribes that want to get into the industry that you follow the state regulations. We're not saying you want to go outside that box, but the way you can structure with the tribal council and the tribal government systems, you can kind of come in, work with the tribe, have that relationship, understand what it takes to be part of that relationship, and kind of form your own rules. It kind of makes a very, very unique situation if you're, again, wanting to be able to get in this space. Again, tax rates, sometimes, we get a little better rate on taxes, not having to pay certain taxes to states, depending on how the compact gets set up. And then the state will kind of give you some leverage or level of protection if you have those compacts in place. And then again, it's just, demographics, understand where your location is, your markets, understand who your partners are with. And when I say your partners, I don't know if anybody knows too much about working with tribal governments. When we recommend going to speak to tribal governments or working with tribes, you really want to get to know the community. What is in that community? Growing up as Native Americans, we're very communal people. I don't know if I said that the best way, but we're all very tied together. Everything goes to a decision. So if a tribe wants to get into this space, they'll create an ordinance, or a referendum. They'll put it to the community for a vote, and then they'll create a referendum, and then that's where you get your robust regulatory structure to be able to do business within the tribal community. All right, now I'm going to go. So what does all that mean? It's parity for tribes and their partners. Precedence and opportunity for coordinated effort, uniting the stakeholders, both within the industry and within the executive branch and Congress. Agriculture and industrial hemp. One of the other big things we talk to tribal communities about is industrial hemp. As I said before, you have 560 federally recognized tribes, vast amounts of land. When we go talk to tribal communities, we talk about industrial hemp as agriculture and economic development. This is farming, which a lot of native land is available to be able to farm at very cheap rates and hopefully a better return on your investment. And also, it's a little easier sell to the community. Not all communities want medical, not all want recreational, some want all. But this is creating jobs for the community. Community members and tribal councils like to see that there's jobs being created for those folks. And like I said, we have vast resources to be able to do and produce agricultural products. As the second bullet point says, tribes can establish hemp farms in states with legalized cannabis, potentially without Farm Bill restrictions. So even though the Farm Bill is out there, and now there's what, I think, what was the last count, 28, 29 states now hemp is legalized. If there's a tribe that is not in a state where it is legalized, you still have the potential to go in and do agriculture and economic development within that state if it's set up in the right frame with that tribe. Again, the opportunities, there's cost efficiencies when locating in Indian country. We can write our own regulations and license vendors. One example, like I said, is tribes operate outside state canopy or store limits. And tribes can set their own tax rate and license fees. So there's a lot of advantages for the folks in the industry that potentially want to be able to work with non-native entities that are in the industry. And so what we do in DC is I work on legislation and policy on Capitol Hill. A lot of the bills that have come out over the years, including the Farm Bill, CARES Act, all these different bills, they did not put in native language for native tribes. So we work on that on a daily basis to be able to make sure that gets included so that folks that are in the industry, if they're going to go partners with tribes, it helps protect them in the long run. And it goes to, and just like a small example, where I grew up outside of Buffalo on the Seneca Nation, we have a treaty, it goes so back to far as treaty rights. In one of our treaties in 1872, it's called the Jay Treaty, it says fishing and farming cannot be taxed. What are we doing? We're growing stuff, right? We're farming. It's agriculture. It's pretty plain and simple. You know, that's what we do on a daily basis, remind the congressional leaders and Senate folks on the Hill, you know, that these are our rights. You know, you continue to have to respect our rights, and it's also educating them, because not everyone always knows these kind of facts. And again, it's just for protection for tribes and their partners. And as I said, continue education for members of commerce. How this next administration goes, like I said, we're not sure. But again, it just helps create a secure industry, more secure industry for folks in the industry. We want everybody to be a part of our organization if we can. We want to be able to keep folks updated on what's happening, on different initiatives, on different opportunities. You know, we get requests from tribal, like I said, tribal leaders, tribal communities. Hey, who do you guys know? Who do you recommend to work with? Different things like that. And we want to have inclusive. We want to have good communication. We want to have good collaboration with folks in the industry. And if you know, we'd love to have you as members. It's easy to sign up. nickmember.org. We will make sure you email you newsletters, different things like that. You can email us with any questions, anything that you need to know. If we need to help make introductions, we do those different kinds of things as well. So again, this is me. This is our organization. And I know it's the end of the day. I'm sure everybody's tired. You know, you guys can smile a little bit. It's not that awful. And so, you know, we're here all day tomorrow as well. We have a little booth out there. Any questions we can answer tomorrow as well. Or just, you know, our numbers are on there, or email. Just please come and talk to us, and we'd love to share anything else that we can. So thank you all for being here and allowing me to have this opportunity to speak at the end of the day, which is okay. So anyways, everyone have a good rest of the conference. It was great talking to you, and have a good evening and be safe.